Today is Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018, the first Wednesday of January and the first Wednesday of 2018. We are watching the second of 3 special events during the winter hiatus of the AskRayceen show. This is AskRayceen live on social media, live from HRC Equality Center in Washington, D.C. And now, here's your host, the High Priestess of Love, the Queen of the Shameless Plug, the Father of 5 and Mother to Many, the Goddess of DC, the iconic, the legendary Rayceen Pendarvis.
Bam! Get you some. I even brought my own cheering section here as we go live on social media. I'd like to welcome everyone and say Happy New Year, Happy 2018. Whatever you wish, whatever you desire, may all your heart's dreams come true in 2018. If not, do it all over again in 2019. So it's all about new beginnings, new starts, and our new guests. Our wonderful new guest, this amazing, wonderful life coach, this amazing author, this amazing activist. You might recognize him from that fabulous show on OTV.
Just a little bit.
Yes, you might recognize him. What show were you on? Tell us.
Fix My Life.
He was on Fix My Life, and he was a part of that wonderful thing, but we're going to find out more about that later. So without further ado, we're going to go in to talk about some of your wonderful, wonderful New Year's resolutions. As a life coach, what are some of those that maybe you have, or maybe our audience, what are some of their New Year's? So some of the things they should inspire or dream or hope to become or hope to do, or all of those wonderful things in the new year.
Well, as a life coach, I gave up doing those resolutions years ago because they're empty promises that we make to ourselves that we hope that we can maintain. But really, my goal is to always look at the year before and say, what have I not done on that list? And is it still important? And if it's still important, that is still on the list. So I don't think that the list actually changes much. I think we add on to what we've done in the last year, and we find out what doesn't, what hasn't served us well. So, people, things, resources, and we learn how to let it go so we can make room for those new things we have to add on the list because sometimes we fail to understand that we can only do so much. And I was telling a friend today, I said, I could have everything, just not at the same intensity at the same time. So in the new year, I'm urging people to kind of just allow yourselves to make mistakes, because sometimes your mistakes are a direct result of the best you know how to do at that time.
How about that? You have 365 days to make a lot of mistakes and learn from them, good, bad, or otherwise. And I think that's important, And don't beat yourself down about things you don't do wrong or the things you don't get right, because like you said, we all learn from our mistakes, and we all learn from those, everything. Life teaches us lessons, and we're constantly learning lessons.
Yeah, and every issue, because I never say take a chance. I always say that everything you ponder or do is 100% opportunity to learn. Now, whether it results in what you asked for or what you didn't ask for, which could be the lesson, you are 100% guaranteed to get something from everything you do.
How about that? So it's what you put in, and what you take out. It's like a well. Which
are all choices.
Yes, it's So if you're constantly going to the well, and you don't have a bucket, you can't get any water. So you have nothing to grab or pull or grasp or pull out of that. So you're pulling out of emptiness. So you got to put something in, so you can have something out.
But some people aren't even challenging themselves to go to the well.
How about that?
Because it's one thing to go without a bucket, and that just may be lack of knowledge that you need something to bring the water back in. But the fact that you can get out the house and open the door and go down the steps and walk across the yard and go to the well, those are 4 choices I gave you. So each choice is, I'm choosing what I will and won't do.
Bam.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot. So it's making choices. And and learning from those choices and learning from all of the things that we do. Life is a constant teacher. And most important, for my AARP group, you're never too old to learn things. Because I'm constantly learning things, especially about myself.
Absolutely.
As a AARP member, I've learned that I'm getting better. And as I get better, that I'm not getting older.
Right.
I'm getting better.
But it's funny you should say that because I was talking to someone about dating. And if you're in a long-term relationship, just like you're getting to know yourself, within relationship, I find that the most successful ones are allowing themselves to get to know each other along the way. Because you do change. Because the person you met at 20 should not be the same person at 40.
Yeah, you better not be.
But you shouldn't expect him or her to be the same person at 20. But you should expect the evolution and welcome it. Because if you don't, that's how people grow apart, because they're expecting to be with the same person they met 10 years ago. But if you're still learning yourself at your age, then that person should understand that they should be learning that same person that you're learning to become.
It's important.
Yeah.
I always tell people that we evolve every 10 years of our life.
Yeah.
We're constantly evolving. It's constantly changing, constantly learning, you know, and I love getting old. I love where I'm at today. I'm so grateful to be a certain age in 2018. And next week is my birthday. Cool. January the 11th, I will be 68.
Oh, wow.
Suffer.
Awesome.
Suffer, young children. Drink plenty of water, stay away from negative people, and avoid stress. Stress is killing you. So if you want to do all these wonderful things, and take care of yourself, rest. Sleep. Get plenty of rest. Yeah. You know, and that's the key to everything. My birthday is January the 11th, the same day of Mary J. Blige, Queen of Hip Hop Soul. We share that day. I love her. So, and I'm so good. And to all my Capricorns, I love you. This is Capricorn season.
So it's your season, right?
Yes, it's my season. I'm walking into, I accept gifts. Please send cash. Please send cash. I love cash. It's always good. I can pay my RCN bill and a few other ones that I left on the dresser from 2017. So send cash so I can pay them in 2018. But on a personal note, are there things that people see you, especially being on Fix My Life?
Of
Do you
course.
find people recognize you more?
I think the most interesting one, probably because I was on 2 episodes. So I normally take myself and my son, my oldest kid, out to Starbucks in the morning for school. So I'm getting my coffee and I'm buying his iced tea. And the cashier just kept looking at me, and she kept putting her head down, kept looking at me. And she said, "Excuse me, sir, were you on Fix My Life? Because it airs on Saturday or Sundays?"
Saturdays in D.C.
Yeah. So it was on a Monday. And she said, "This past weekend?" I said, "Yes, it's me." And she said, "Wow." I'm like, "Okay." And I've been at the bar. I've been at, I was in Chicago at Thanksgiving dinner with my fiance, and one of his friends recognized my face but couldn't place it until I said it. So it's been a gracious opportunity, you know, especially for the topic that I was on there for, which is a topic that I've been an advocate for years.
And what is that?
Male survivors of childhood sexual assault. So, and it was a group of 5 of us who are still friends now. So that show was taped over a year ago. And many people didn't know, because I wanted it to be the process that people can see without having any prejudice and any favoritism. I just wanted you to see it for what it was. But it's been an opportunity because it's allowed me to have conversations that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
It was important
Yeah.
because when I watched the show, it's and talking to so many of my friends who have been survivors.
Right.
And it was so, first of all, thank you for sharing your
You're
story.
welcome.
And thank you for allowing people to have a safe space to come and talk about in dialogue, and then understand that they're not alone.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we had 5 people, because like I tell everybody, I didn't know who was going to be there until the moment you saw us in front of the house, that was when I met everybody. So when the show first started and we pulled up and you saw us in front of the house and welcomed by Ms. Van Zandt, that was the first time that most of us had ever met. So, and the unique opportunity was, they contacted me and I said, I can only do the show if you're going to do this right. Because first of all, the topic's underserved, you know, for men. So I said, if I'm going to do this, it has to be something that I can look back and say, I added to information that needs to be out there. And I think they did a lot of research into what they do, because what you saw was 2 hours of the show, but we were there for 4 days and doing work all day. So there was a lot of work that still lives with me that you never saw, which was a great thing. And they had a lot of guests that didn't make the final cut, because again, we have to watch TV for the production effect. So that's why you didn't see me personally, a lot of my story in the 2 hours, because there were 5 men at 5 different levels of healing. That's what I came out with, is that everybody is at their own level of healing, and you have to meet them where they are.
And that's important in breaking change, especially.
Yeah.
When you break chains, breaking the yoke, and letting go, and understanding that those who choose to say I'm a victim the most important thing is you're a survivor.
Yeah.
And learning to move forth. And I think that when we don't learn to move forth, we do such a disservice, because there's a lot of people walking around in their brokenness.
Yeah.
And don't how to, sometimes ashamed to heal, because they're ashamed to talk about it. But,
Absolutely.
But breaking it is talking about it. That's the first step.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing for me on the show was having it be about black men. And because we don't usually have a language for it, for us to be able to be open and say, hey, let's talk about this. And not only that, we have the resources to help us, but if you look at the advertising, it's usually geared towards female survivors.
Right.
But they may make a mention or a blurb. So, and as we know, men don't readily talk about their emotions, right? So that's not how we're nurtured. Most of us are not that way. So you're asking grown black men who have never had to talk about this, plus hearing about homosexuality and how it's so dirty. Even if you're not a homosexual, the fact that you were violated by a man, in your head, you're afraid to say it because you're afraid of what other people will think about you.
Right. And you take away the stigma.
Yeah.
The moment you speak your power and speak your
Yeah.
truth. But speaking of power and truth, tell us about your book and tell us how healing that was for you writing this book.
So this is Sit or Stand 2.0. And the reason it's called 2.0 is because there was a first version. But I don't think it was coming from my personality. It was coming from more of a professional standpoint. So when I looked at the book and I said, I needed to be more of me. And so this book is more of like a man's journey to find himself and his choices. I was a life coach when I wrote it, so I'm writing it from a life coaching point of view, but I'm telling certain stories, not every story, as I don't feel that every story is for the public. But for every lesson I wanted to teach, I had to give the real life example. I talk about my issues with my childhood rape by four different men between the age of 6 and 12, how that hampered my personal growth. I talk about my issues with my family and having to move around a lot, and my dad choosing not to be there for me.
Right.
And not because of that issue, but just because he was broken. And I talk in the book about sometimes, going back to what I told you before about some people just do the best that they can. The largest piece of this book that I'm proud of is the part where I talk about forgiveness and why it's a gift, and learning how to forgive yourself and also forgive those that didn't know better.
How about that?
You know?
I forgive, and sometimes forgiving is freeing yourself. And sometimes it's
all the
forgiving that
process.
person. It's part of that breaking the chains. It's a cycle. And sometimes it's not always for you. It's for that other person.
Let's walk it back because forgiveness should always be seen as your power. And what it does is it breaks the effect of what that issue has done for you. Because you can forgive somebody and never tell them. That's your business. But sometimes we don't forgive because we mistake the act of forgiving with the act of forgetting. I say forgetting makes you vulnerable to be taken advantage of again, because it did happen. Own that fact. But forgiving says, I'm not going to give you the power that I gave you, because it didn't take your power. You gave it away.
How about that?
So I'm just taking it back.
And that's important. And people have to see that self, taking that power back and reclaiming their time.
Pretty much.
Reclaiming their time.
Pretty much.
And you have to reclaim your time. And those immortal words of Maxine Waters that has become so important and something that we all should put towards our life in 2018. And this amazing book is part of the healing process. And for folks, you get it, support it, read it. You can get it on Amazon.
Every outlet. And you can get a personal autographed copy if you buy it from my website, which is CoryGeorgeMedia.com.
Bam! Get you some. And speaking of that, speaking of writing, it is the 10-year anniversary of Swerve Magazine. And I have the privilege and honor to be one of their featured columnists. And I had a wonderful opportunity at doing this amazing journey for writing for Swerve and along with Unleashed Voices, which has been a wonderful experience in 2017. And I had a chance to present with them with the first Community Service Award. And it was a wonderful experience to honor unsung heroes. in our community. And I'd like to do that with an ongoing series of people that sometimes we don't get a chance to see, or we don't get a chance to honor. So I honored those, and I autographed these copies and these issues specifically for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
And designed for you.
Thank
so, I want to give you this, and I want you to have it, and I want you to really, I autographed them on pages, on the wonderful, because I think you're one of our heroes, and I'm one of our unsung heroes as
thank you
well.
so much.
But this was dedicated to the young folks, and then we'll do one for the older folks.
Awesome.
The over 30, and this
The
is
over
for,
30.
so we'll be doing a continual series of several people, but I think you are one of those, and I think that, you are one of those unsung heroes.
Well, thank you so
A
much.
part of the journey and a part of our light. So keep shining. We appreciate you. We love you, and we thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all, and we'll be back with part 2 with Lady Dane as we're live on social media. Oh, and we're back. Bam! This is part 2 of the AskRayceen live on social media. I am your host, Rayceen Pendarvis, and this is part 2, and I am here with the multi-talented goddess, another goddess, Lady Dane. And tell us about yourself, Lady Dane, for the folks who don't know you. I know so much about you, but I'm still learning more about you. So tell us, those who don't know, all the amazing things that you're doing.
I'm Lady Dane Figueroa at Edidi. I am a performance artist, actress, singer, dancer, writer. I have 10 books, published books. I am a dramaturg. I am a choreographer. I'm an advocate. I am a healer. I'm a priestess. I'm a founder of a multidisciplinary theater company called Forced Collision, part founder. I have an organization called the Ananadi Initiatives, which specifically focuses on transgender nonconforming artists of color and cultivating space and producing events for them. I'm co-editing a piece called the Black Trans Prayer Book with J. Mace III through Awkward. And how do you find, first of all, how do you find time to sleep? We were just talking about the importance of sleep, but I think creative people never sleep. They're always working, because I'm always working 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So you get up, you have an idea, you write, you think about something, then you try not to think about it. But for many of you who don't know, I just saw the incredible, wonderful piece, 4 Women at Arena Stage, with my dear, fabulous girlfriend, Miss Harriet, the wonderful, talented Harriet, in the lead of Nina Simone, within a wonderful ensemble, incredible cast. And then to find out that you were a part of that and doing all this wonderful, amazing production backstage, and the piece was so powerful. Then, as you came off of the eve of the studio theater production of Wig Out, which was been nominated for several awards. I just read an article yesterday that it was number 1 of the 10 top plays of 2017. So that to me was amazing, and it was to see you in that space, and that character was so raw. How did you prepare yourself? Because honey, you were topless, you were shimmying, you were shaking. How did you get to that point? Well, I saw the original off-Broadway production. One of my best friends, Sean Patrick Doyle, was in it. He played Loki in the off-Broadway production, and so I saw it years and years ago, and then I was in a reading of it years after that. And then, Faith is so much, she was so much a part of who I am, to be honest with you. I used to be one of the girls who was at the club voguing and down at the Paradox in Baltimore, baby, and doing all, and I was a showgirl. Yeah. And so it was really nice to really pay homage to those who have come before me, specifically. People like you, people like my auntie Jimmy in Baltimore, who was named Figueroa back in the 50s. She was a showgirl. And just everybody now who, like some of my sisters who are incredible and who are doing so much work, not just in the ball community, but also around advocacy for trans and LGBTQ people. And so, she was an amalgamation of so many of the dear people that I hold to my heart.
It came to see it, to sit in the audience, to be in the midst of it. It was so honest, it was so real, it was so vulnerable. it was so powerful. But to see you grow as an artist,
Yeah.
how about that? And to bring all the spirits of all these wonderful people who have come before you. I see all of the Avis, Pendarvis, the Dorian Cory, the Pepper LaBeija, all of those, Angie Extravaganza, all of those people, especially around that piece itself. You really invoked those spirits of so many people that have gone on, and to see it was so liberating. I think I saw it 3 times.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
3
I
times.
saw it 3 times. I was there 3 times. I did, so that tells you how much I love it. But to work in the theater in Washington, D.C., the Studio Theater, the Arena, all of these wonderful, the Mosaic Theater, all of these wonderful companies in Washington that are doing so many amazing things. And to see you, to be a part of that, just lets me know that people are opening the doors, knocking the doors down, coming through the doors, and to see you walk in your light just really makes me feel so good. It's honoring. So tell us about your books. You got 10 of them. I haven't even finished 1, and she's got 10. So tell us about these 10 books.
So before we talk about the books, I just also wanted to mention Theater Alliance, because last year, between For Women and Wig Out, Theater Alliance actually had my piece, which is also one of my books, for Black trans girls.
Yes, you
who
sure
got
did.
to
I
cuss
forgot
the
about
motherfucker
that.
out.
I forgot about that piece.
They had a reading of it that Monday, and then that weekend, they produced my play, Clytemnestra, which was done at Wild Theater Cafe last year, was produced by a Black trans woman as well, CC, my sister CC Swazo.
And you also do something with the Young Playwrights?
Well, I did a performance with the Young Playwrights. I did an evening, and I think you also did that.
I was there, yes.
It was myself, it was Shimmy, it was Jay Scales, and it was a bunch of us there who just was doing it was an amazing evening of work.
It was amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really honored and blessed, not just to be born at this time, but also to have learned the lesson, to remember where I come from, because people like yourself did so much work so that I could say what I want to say to theaters and say, you need to cast us, right? And not be afraid that I would be blacklisted.
Right.
So
That's important.
Y'all did so much work for me to be able to speak candidly and honestly to so many theaters. So I'm really honored and blessed to be able to be living now.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful time, especially in theater in D.C. All these amazing theatrical people, Harriet Ross White, Tracy Rose, all these amazing, incredible Silver Logan Sharp, Carolyn Malachi, these wonderful artists and who are singers and artists and writers and poets and actresses and actors. But then what's so wonderful is you walk in the door as an actress, but you break the stereotypes. You don't come in as just, I'm a trans actor. I'm an actress.
Yeah.
I'm an actress. Yeah. And I can do anything. And I think that's so important. But you bring the trans experience with you and you let them know who I am.
Yeah.
And you come in and say, don't box me in.
Yeah.
Because I can do everything.
It's people like Kent Gash, who directed Wig Out, people like Timothy, who we did Don Cho Kiss to See before at Theater Alliance, and then he called me in to choreograph For Women. People like Del Hollett, people like Rebecca Holderness and Spooky Action Theater, who when I literally I came into the space and they were just like, yes, we got to get this girl some work. We got to cast this girl. We got to, you know what I mean? And it was, and are still actively working to hire me, which is like such a blessing.
That's wonderful. On the shoulders
yeah.
you stand. You stand
Yeah.
on the shoulders of so many amazing people in theater. I think of 2 incredible theater people, Mike Malone and Reggie Ray.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
God, who opened the doors. Mike Malone started the Duke Ellington School along with his wonderful co-part, the amazing Lord and her, I'm drawing a blank and she's gonna kill me later. But the 2 of them had the vision to start Duke Ellington and to see Duke Ellington come and to where it is now, the state-of-the-art School of Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. It's an amazing school. And to know that they're Peggy Cooper Capers and Mike Malone had the vision and created Duke Ellington. And people need to know that. And
Yeah.
Reggie Ray, this incredible teacher, author, poet, and he was an incredible costume designer. But what I loved about him, he was a professor at Howard University, but he made sure that those in the theater he was knocking doors down and he was breaking doors down and making sure that if you're going to open the doors for everybody, make sure that the playing field is even.
Yeah. I loved Reggie Ray. He was the first show that I did in DC, professional show. I understudied Pippin at Roundhouse, and Reggie Ray was the costume designer on it. And when I tell you that Reggie Ray was someone who was deeply invested in my generation of performers, we were young at that time, the young generation of performers, black performers to be successful. Whenever you saw Reggie Ray walking somewhere and he'd be coming from somewhere at some theater doing something, he would just stop and he would show you so much love and pour so much into me. And I wasn't one of his students, right? Like I was someone who was just a young person who he had met professionally. And his students loved him.
I mean, he was so loved in the theater world. I feel like when I walk into places, and especially God bless Arena Stage for honoring him and naming the department, their costume department, after Reggie Ray.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. So every time people walk into the costume department of the Arena Stage, it is named the Reggie Ray Costume Department. And it lets them know that this man, who was a Helen Hayes winner, who did so many amazing things in Washington, especially for the theater company, and we honor him. I know he's looking down, smiling, loving every minute of this.
Yeah.
And I think of all the doors, especially at the HU, at our historical black colleges, what he did. And and to those doors open, and here you are walking into it. So tell us about your books.
So my books. Also shout out to Michael Bobbin and Tony Lombard. May she rest in peace, because they were also people that mentored me and led me. So my books, I have 10 of them. Where do I even start?
Let me hold five. You hold five.
So my newest one is for black trans girls who got to cuss a motherfucker out when snatching an edge ain't enough, baby. So
I love the title of that. I love that. That's a mouthful, baby. That's a mouth, and they're amazing.
So for black trans girls, for color girls, if you was black and you was young in the day and you was a girl, honey, you love For Color Girls, and we all had to read it when we was in school. So one thing about For Color Girls, though, is that I think that it was written at a very specific time about a very specific type of womanhood. And I knew when I was a child, I was like, I want to write my own choreo poem one day, and it's going to be about trans women. So,
wow. And it's amazing. But look at all, she has 10 of them.
So for black trans girls, the newest, and the thing about for black trans girls too is that it costs $20, and that $2 from each book sold each month is tallied up, and it goes to a transgender non-conforming person of color survival fund at the end of the month. So
how do people find you?
People can go to my website, www.ladydanefe, that's F as in Frank, E as in Edward.com, and you can pick these up. And then also, of course, I have Brew, the Ghetto Goddess series, Brew, Keeper, and Incarnate, which are about a trans mother and a trans daughter, and they're witches in Baltimore. I was into all of that. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Charmed, all the things, honey.
I love it.
When white people write about witches and things and about the future, they always leave out black people, and they definitely always leave out trans people. So I decided that because I like, sci-fi and fantasy, that I wanted to create a series that were about witches. And can
you imagine the film? I could see a character for me somewhere there.
I agree, yes!
When the film version is done.
So
But if I lose my role to somebody like Angela Bassett or something, I'll be all right with that.
And then also, we have the C. Muhammad series, which are 6 novellas. Okay. And this is only 2 of them because I'm still working on the other ones. While this book is happening, while this series is happening in D.C. So this piece, the Brew, Incarnate, Keeper, they take place in Baltimore, and the C. Muhammad series takes place in D.C. And it's all about a trans witch who is a detective, and her trans boyfriend, who is a cyborg.
Girl, but see, that's the whole journey of being a writer, imagination and the key. So we for time, we better do these other three before we go
Okay.
out.
Yeah, My Ass Daughters came out in 2013, and it marked me as the first trans woman of color to publish a work of fiction in DC, which was like amazing. So the hardback came out in 2013. The paperback came out in 2015.
Wow.
And that's about a trans priestess in Africa. She comes from a place that's untouched by colonization. I wanted to know, our ancestors loved trans people. They loved gay people. So what happened? And the answer is colonization. So I wanted to write a book about that. And of course I was like, an academic book. Then I was like, ain't nobody gonna read that shit. So I said, why don't I make it into a fiction novel? And
I
then
love
these two books, I didn't bring Baltimore Love Letter. So I have
Okay.
another book too that's not here called Baltimore Love Letter. They are books of poetry. This book here, The Blood of a Thousand Roots, was really about, it's kind of my way of working out some of the
love that.
generational trauma
Beautiful
with the women in
pictures.
my family.
I love it.
And focuses really on healing some of those relationships. And so one of those things between that happened to me and that also happened to every woman in my family was some kind of sexual violence. And so there's this poem. My mom has a whole suite. She has a 10-page suite in the book. And one of the poems is called The Sisterhood of Silence. And that really talks about everything that happened to me and then finding out that it had happened to all the women in my family. And my brother was the one who molested me when I was younger. And, but my mother still loves my brother because that's her son. And so it was my way of saying to her, one, I forgive you for I forgive you for not throwing him out on the street. Two, I have to center me in my healing. Three, what happened to you was not okay. What happened to me was not okay. Four, today we are going to name what happened to us. Because healing has to start with us naming who did it.
Wow.
So,
reclaiming, and we talked about forgiving with Cory earlier and the connection that all of us go. So once again, I did say that I had the wonderful opportunities to write for these amazing magazines, and I chose some people to honor in the Advocate Awards, and I wanted to autograph my copy and give it to you, and give it to you from the Unleashed Voices. And I also had the wonderful opportunity to autograph the Swerves issue as well. So I wanted to give you these autographed copies to make sure you have them, even though I don't have 10 books, but I have 2 magazines. And, just a wonderful experience of, and I autographed them inside. That's the personal autograph. There we go. I autographed, and I want everybody to see it. Unleashed. This was the last year's issue. We don't have the current 2018 because it just clicked over to 2018. And the wonderful last year's issue going into this year's of Swerve. So I autographed them both for you, and I just wanted to make sure you had your autographed copies, and my book is coming, one of my book. I'd like to be able to, but 10 books, how powerful and how wonderful. And I just want to say that I will be doing, speaking of freeing yourself, I just wrote the article, Freeing Yourself, in 2018 in the current issue of Unleashed Voices. So it's about letting go of baggage, claiming your power, letting go of things, and we have to talk about it and speak truth and give power and talk about it and honor our freedom. And I want to thank my guests, my wonderful, amazing guest, the Lady Dane, and the amazing life coach and the multi-talented, wonderful authors as well, Mr. Cory George. I want to thank both of them. If you missed this segment, you can follow us at the AskRayceen YouTube channel. We'll be posting it, and it will go out this week, and you can go and follow and pick that up. But before we leave, please visit us. Go to our website at AskRayceen.com. Please join us for our next online, and we'll be here doing it live. But we come back for our live studio audience. We return March 7th, but we'll do the live AskRayceen show, AskRayceen live here on social media. That will be Wednesday, February the 7th. Mark your calendar, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we come back with a live audience, on March 7th of 2018. So we welcome you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank our wonderful guests, Lady Dane, and the Duchess Rayceen, and the wonderful Honorable Cory George.